Hello everybody. Enjoying your new year. Happy New Year guys. Today I am going to show you how to do a character design or a digital painting character design tutorial. Knight of the Zodiac and the Zodiac, Chinese Zodiac this year is red. So I'm doing so many red. It's just going to be a night. Actually, this was a concept design that I did on a live stream about a couple of years ago, and then I decided, well, if I added something, it could look maybe like red. And I haven't released it, so I just released for you guys. In the beginning, I'm just gonna sort of explain to you or tell you what my thought processes are and all those things that I think would be important for you to know before you start actually painting and watching the painting with the commentary, and what I focus on or what you need to know before you start painting these things. And I hope it will be helpful to you guys, right? All right, so anyways, if you have any comment, question or anything, post them down in the comment below. And I noticed a lot of people went to my Patreon and tried to become a Patreon. My Patreon hasn't been active for a while, but since you guys insist, then I'm just going to activate it. But then this time it's going to be different. Most of the content are just going to be on YouTube, so it's not going to be exclusively for Patreon. So you can pledge and you can support me and keep my YouTube channel going live. If you like a few videos a week, I would really appreciate it. And I mean, I have a full-time job, and I mean, I appreciate all you guys, all the previous Patreon, and everybody has been supporting, downloading my video on Gumroad, and downloading my video on QBrush, or downloading my video on the artclasses.com, or even people who've been taking classes. And I need to offer a class again, but I don't think I'm going to have a group class anymore, since my time is super limited. And I'm an art director at the One Studio in Bangkok, doing film and animation. And anyways, so yeah, it would be nice. So you guys insist on doing a Patreon, I'll have the link down below. Hopefully soon, maybe not. Maybe I have to kind of go in and do the thing, so it might be a couple of weeks. But I would really appreciate if you guys would support me that. And then I might quit my job and start doing this. Well, I don't know. Just kidding, what you do. Anyway, enough babbling. Enjoy your video. Sorry, I talk a lot. But since it's New Year, so I just gotta kind of, say all this kind of stuff to you guys, since I haven't been appearing with my actual face a lot. So, alright guys, enjoy your coffee and enjoy the video. Later. Alright guys, here we go. Here's the Night of Rat. Since it is the year of the rat in the Chinese Zodiac, even though it hasn't actually been official, it's probably going to be on Chinese New Year in February sometime. I have to look at the calendar. So I'm going to show you how I started this one, right? Here, let's see. So what is the most important thing is basically the shape or the silhouette. Basically, I kind of get that shape first, and you have to get the gesture, or like usually in the character design, this is quite I'm not sure if it's common, but the way we do it high concept first before we start actually doing the model sheet. And the model sheet, your character will just standing there and in the neutral standing pose. Because it's a lot easier for the model to design according to those pose. But this is a concept that you're just sketching out, or you could call it a pre-concept or a high concept, to get the attitude and the everything about the character, try to convey as much as you can before you're actually going inside and trying to carve the piece of armor and trying to break down all the detail, right? So here you can see that I kind of break down piece of the armor into the separate piece by using just two value. So I have the torso piece, the shoulder piece are important, the hair important, and the gauntlet and the elbow. And for the bottom part, I didn't quite get down all the way to the bottom. That would probably be the breakdown process afterward if this character get picked. A lot of time if you're doing a bunch of these, they're not gonna all get picked. So they are just concepts that you do pretty quickly within like couple to a few hours. The writer send you a description and you just kind of crank it out. So and then after that, I just kind of trying to pick the color scheme and adding the background gradient a little bit to usually I have the darker value be on top because the horizontal line will always be on the bottom if you see just 3/4 of the body, right? And the horizontal line will be right around there that my cursor go. Then I add something in the back which will be his flag or something, and then I add a little bit of color using overlay. So these are the main base color, and I just add a little bit of gradient to kind of separating the form a little bit more, but they're not in super detail. Then I add shadow where it should be. These are kind of like the indication of where the cast shadow would fall, right? There are different type of shadow. Form shadow, which is you adding this would be form shadow. You see that gradient or the value transition here between the dark and the light. So this is a cylinder, and the light is coming from the top front a little bit to the right side of the screen, and this would be shadow that I think it would cast, because if the light coming from that part, it would cast a shadow down the neck because of the helmet is blocking the light, and this part, the shoulder, is blocking the light. And then I add a little bit more of a color so that it would I picked a complementary color for the green. It's a little bit warm. This one gonna be, I was thinking at the moment, would be like a chainmail color, would be rusty. So that's why it's kind of green. Then I'm trying to add a little bit of material onto it with some scribble texture brush, which you can't probably tell what it is going to be, but I usually have some idea in mind of what, like when I finish the silhouette, usually I know what kind of geometry I am going to put onto the subject. But you, like all these process, I do kind of almost second nature, but you're gonna have to do a lot of study, like material study, see the difference between material like cloth, leather, metal, and all those stuff, and you have to be able to execute them so that you can get somewhat a metal-like rendering because the metal and the cloth and the leather have a different property when it receive the light, or they have different how do you call that, specular level to the light, right? And that's a 3D term, usually material terms. And then I first add the visor, and then I was like, the visor doesn't look good, so I just start adding all this sectional in. So I start doing the big form first, and then break it down using a smaller form. And a lot of people, a lot of time I've seen a bunch of my students, they're trying to paint, if they're breaking section, right, they're trying to paint this one individually. So the easiest way that I would recommend to paint something is to paint a big piece first, right? Because they are if they're on the same plane and they have the form that are in that, like say if this was this shoulder piece, right, it's like half a cylinder. So all the form are laying on top of each other, so the plane are not different. They're using the same plane. Then you can just plane the whole thing and then add occlusion and separate it, each one of them into each plates. Same as the torso here, right? They are the same piece. So you can just, if they are lining up with the form, then you can just execute it or paint it as if it was on the same surface, because when the surface when this surface going on top of this surface, it's just gonna they're gonna be the same plane and facing the light the same way. If the plane are not changing, assuming that they will receive the light the same way. So you don't have to paint them separately. And that's when you are going to get the smoother or a more convincing form, right? And now I'm adding a little bit more to bring this leg up to get this cylinder, because the cylinder has the light that coming in the middle, and then it's kind of gradually fade out. So all these things are something that you already know, but you may have ignored in class or whatever, because all of these are geometry form. These are cylinder, half of the cylinder, and these probably are just a sphere, but a very big, if I'm gonna explain this right. Okay, so these are just maybe part of the sphere or part of the cylinder. So they are basically the geometry form. So if you can render the geometry well, then you'll be able to render these well. But then the tricky part is to combine all those geometry together. Then you're gonna get these rendering. And on top of that, you're gonna have to consider material and all those kind of stuff. So I would recommend, if you want to know all those, then go to my Gumroad and cubebrush.co/Xia Taptara, and the link will be down below the video. Those are just going to provide you with all these foundation, because everything is about foundation. The more solid your foundations are, the better you're going to be able to paint all these character in the way that you supposed to. All right, so now here, the mouse. Okay, basically in here I use, like before I shift into this transition, I decided to change the color scheme a little bit, right? Using color balance and readjust all these colors into these numbers. And sometimes this might already look cool, but it looks kind of, it doesn't pop. So you might help use color adjustment, color balance to help bring out the red. But this part, it's look kind of green but purplish, and you can have this, when you do the color balance, you can have a little bit of magenta inside, but the light is green. So that's kind of helpful. But then as I go on, I might change a little bit of stuff here and there. From that cloth, I put the leather flap in the front, and I add this ring, and then I change the head into the mouse. I mean, not the mouse, the rat. So it will be Knight of Red. All right, guys. Well, I hope these are helpful, and you can see the whole process there. And all this sword foreshortening, the reason it looks like it's coming forward is because of the light. When you are painting, you have to notice the light, and to get familiar with how the lighting works, you have to study all those value and go try to observe light in nature, and try to set up your life drawing, like setting up the object, or you can paint toys, you can paint objects around your house. Those are going to be very helpful. And if you're trying to set up the object, you can set up the object of like different material object, like cloth or metal or something like that, then, or some leather, whatever. If all those studies will come and help you into this design thing, and then you're gonna have to know the depth of field, so you can push part of the character back and then push part of the character forward. And those you can't really learn this in like one sitting, so it's just gonna have to be an accumulate knowledge and accumulate practice. So you focus on one at a time, and then eventually you'll be able to do all these things within just one go. But there are a lot involved, and that's why I say the ultimate digital painting tutorial for beginners. Paint like a pro. All right, guys. Anyways, hope you guys support me. And like I said, my Patreon might be restarting or revamp. I'm not sure. Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna have, if you go to my Patreon and still the 2020 is not there, then just kind of wait and don't pledge. But I'm gonna try to find time to set it up. I'm pretty busy at the moment, and I'm just trying to put up the video on YouTube. So those are not my priority right now. But all right, guys, have a happy new year. Let's get started rolling with the real process, and I'm gonna be commentary over all those things. Okay. Hello everybody, welcome to theartclass.com. Today I am going on a random stream. I think I'm going to do a quick character sketch, probably some sort of a night. And if you are here, feel free to say hi onto the chat board. If you have any question about art or anything concept art related, let me know on the chat board. I'll try to answer all your questions. So after all these live stream video are done, I'll put it on the Patreon. Depends on the level. I'm not sure what level this will be yet, but these are just going to be a quick sketch, maybe 30-45 minutes. I'm not sure. All right, let's I'm just gonna start trying to get the value for the background first. Let's do about 75% gray for the background. Let me know you guys can hear me fine. Oops. Can fill in the background. There we go. Then can make another copy. Usually I like to make a folder just for the hell of it. Not sure why. It's just a habit. Because sometimes I have to make like different version for the concept, even in the studio or working for a client or something. Hello Patrick, how are you? Hello Vampirio. Welcome back, guys. Hopefully I can do something decent today. So my background, I start out with 75, and for the character I'll just go about 40 or 45%, I guess. So the value are not that far apart. So I'm just going to start sketch. Hello Sharky Yum Yum, Anthony Guerrero, Carlos, Lara. How is everyone doing? So I'm just gonna start out with a quick sort of silhouette. If you guys have never seen my live stream before, feel free to ask any question. And yes, sometimes I do draw, but a lot of time I do just quick silhouette because I think it's kind of fun, and I'm a lot faster with the silhouette. Today it's just gonna be a quick sketch of a night. Basically it's the same as drawing. This one is kind of halfway silhouette, I guess. It's like drawing and silhouette at the same time. Hello Jimmy. Hello, you are also Carlos. Vampirio. Hello. Alright, so I'm not really sure what this is going to be yet, but we'll see. Maybe I'll try to make some kind of Valkyrie or something. Let's change the shape of the eraser. And if you don't know what I'm doing here yet, feel free to ask what am I doing and what am I looking for. Actually, I kind of not sure what I'm doing yet here. Still looking for the shape, basically. Trying to find a cool shape. A lot of time when I go live stream, if I go randomly, last time I do have something in mind, like I want to do a character. What is that, magic? And it's actually done. But today I have no idea. Just randomly go with the shape. I think I can, so I'm just gonna go a little bit darker just to get
something going here. All right. So that's the helmet basically. Let me read that. Hello Vignesh, long time no seen. How are you? Oops, wrong brush. Still not sure what I'm doing, but we'll see. I'm just gonna break this down. Torso shape. Let's make it slightly smaller. And maybe bigger. Can't decide. Let's just go back. I was trying to find a pose, but I guess. Okay, so I think I got some kind of a pose here, a little foreshortening. And that will be some kind of shoulder plate. Let's move the arm a little bit further. There we go. Okay, now we got something. I think you should carry some kind of a sword here. I'm gonna add some carrying some sort of flag. A little lighter, maybe. Hello, this is YC, random viewer, perfect for the random streamer. I know there are a lot of people they have like that. I do have schedule on Sunday, but sometime, if usually I have class and at night, but sometime if I don't, then I'll just go streaming. And there should be some group class pretty soon if you guys are interested. You guys can always check it on my website, because I always got an email asking when am I gonna start a group class. But private lessons always open. It's always good. You can ask Vignesh. How's it going, Vignesh? Alright, now. Okay, sword. So this is flags. And some of you asked a lot of time. I start off with black and white mostly, but then pretty soon I'm going to get the color in. And give him a huge sword with a weird shape. There we go. And things are going kind of in perspective. Kind of. guess I should move that up a little bit. About there. No question today. All right. And the legs. I should put this leg up front. Give it a little more dynamic when you go opposite side. Because usually, when you so if you twist the body, it usually works out better for the dynamic pose, right? So if your shoulder is going this way, your body arc, and then you twist. So this is up, this is down, this is down, this is up. So that one is coming forward, this one is going backward, this one is coming forward, so, and that one is going backward. So easier to think about it is your collarbones and pelvis go into the opposite direction. It's easier to create the C shape, and then it depends on where your head and your legs are going. It would create the S shape if you add that dynamic front and back. So always think about X, Y, and X and Y is usually how you guys are thinking. And a lot of time when you guys drawing and your pose is not as dynamic, is because you guys only think S, X, and Y. X and Y you can also make dynamic pose, like when you add the S curve or C curve or whatever, right? But to make it even more dynamic, but you don't have to go overboard, you can add the Z space. So Z plus C minus Z. So it's give it a little more natural movement for the character. Then you can see this torso moving in this direction, but the pelvis will be moving in slightly that direction. So that create that sort of a natural arc for character. Ta-da! Haven't done this in a while. I forgot how fun this is. Just scribbling away. Alright, now I'm gonna add a little light in the background. Wait, wrong. I have to make new layer. You can use multiply, you can use hello Asia Fox. You can use multiply to help, or you can just kind of use normal, as long as you create some sort of a gradient. That's what I usually do. You can use like normal gradient to create gradient. Say the top one will be darker and the bottom will be kind of lighter. Well, that's too light. Is that normal? That's normal. If you use multiply, then you see the background color. Why is that circular shape? I don't want my gradient to be like that. Hey, how do I change that? This is weird. Alright, so I guess I'm trying to find like just, this is a circular gradient. I do not want that. How do I change it back? This is confusing. Did they change something? What the hell? Oh, there you go. There. Sorry, my bad. Gonna zoom out so you can, oh, I guess I kind of roll on that. Let's just do regular gradient. Gonna zoom out a little bit. Okay, so I don't want it to be too much contrast. I think I like it on that side. A little higher. Slightly darker. So you have to get enough contrast so you can see the silhouette on top and the bottom, because if you don't have that enough, then thanks Vignesh. Sometimes I forgot where it is. Then if you're doing too little, like what I'm doing here, then the silhouette will blend in. So you have to kind of make sure that everything you draw on can be seen at this point, because it's really important that you can see the whole shape of the character. Then you can, like later, and the reason I use only a few values on the character at the moment, because if you use too much in the beginning, it'll be super confusing. So you have to kind of try to break it down easy. And then as you go further, you will add more. All right, so now we have the character, the flag, the everything. Now I'm just gonna add a little bit of a light and shadow, but I think I'm gonna add more paint onto the legs. You have any question, feel free to ask them on the chat board. And proportion are also pretty important, even at this point. Should I get the flap? I'm gonna add some sort of a cloth in the front, maybe multiple. There we go. Some ring and the flag. Nah, I think that's enough. I should have made it on a different layer, but it doesn't really matter. Alright. Sometimes when I arrange a character, I like to get them on a different layer, but if I'm just doing a quick sketch, it doesn't really matter. And quick sketch usually are fun because you're not thinking about anything, you're just trying to get some quick idea down. So, and right now you're seeing I'm selecting all these inside the silhouette because those are the part that I haven't painted, and I'm gonna make sure that I merge layer here in the background, and I'm gonna move it up to that part, and I'm gonna cut it out from the background, and I'm gonna merge this part down so that I make sure that everything in here is 100% opaque. And when I have 100% opaque, it's really important to have all these silhouette that you paint become opaque, so that when you adding modifier on top, everything when you merge, it will become as it looks. Because if your paint or your silhouette in the back is not opaque, like 100% opaque in paint or in color or in whatever, then when you are using modifier on top, it will look different. Sometimes it will go lighter and sometimes it will go darker, depends on the opacity of the density of your paint. So I'm just going to lower the opacity to about 30%, just going to pick medium dark. Now I'm just going to add basic form shadow. I could hide the selection here, Control H. Now I'm just going to add kind of easy shadow. So now you can see the form start to show up a little. Now you can use hard edge also, it doesn't really matter. Depends on how you like them. If you like them to be softer, then you use a softer brush. But if you like the edge to be, if you need the hard edge, then use a hard edge brush. If you want the soft edge, then just use soft edge, like what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to get the form to show up, so I'm just using kind of softer brush. And you can use texture brush also to achieve pretty much similar result. All right, now what color should I put on him? Like the main color. Quick. Nobody's telling me color. I'm just gonna pick like maybe gray, a little more green. I'm just gonna use maybe 50%, so the color wouldn't change. I mean the value wouldn't change much. And this one will be overlay. And I already have selection on, right? So I can just fill it in. Boom. Come on. Sometimes the hotkey doesn't work for no reason. Don't know why. As you can hear the sound. Green, right? Okay. Not sure why it doesn't fill in. Let's do that again. I'm pretty sure I pressed the right button. It's like there's some bugs in Photoshop, I think. Alright, now we have green. And yes, we can add a little bit of orange later. Sinbad. Sinat. I thought it was Sinbad for some reason. So now we have a little bit green, but I'm going to use eraser, maybe texture brush, maybe go about 20%. I'm gonna desaturate the top by erasing them. 25. Boop, 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 boop. So it become a little more gray. Okay, don't crash on me. I don't trust Photoshop CC. It's crashed quite a bit, surprisingly. Alright, and I think the flag, I'm gonna make them maybe orange, but the pole will be green. So I'm gonna pick that. Go to overlay, and then brush, 100%, and just paint. How come it doesn't get the green? Oh, that's eraser. Duh. I'm pretty stupid sometimes. I thought I picked brush. Okay, there we go. 100%. And green. So the reason we're using overlay, because we already established the form. There's no reason to go in and paint using normal, but eventually we'll paint normal. So I'm picking orange right now. I'm gonna lower the opacity a little bit, paint the flag to be a bit orange. Maybe we'll get them to be a little more saturated later, but for now I'm just gonna use this one. Patrick Lamont asks, do I ever use gradient on a figure? Depends. What pose are they making? Because you're gonna need part for like the arm gonna have different shadow than the legs gonna have different type of shadow than the body gonna have different type. So it all depends on the geometry form, right? So all these have different geometry. So in general, you just kind of break this down into this geometry shape, and however the light hit, say using a default light here, right? So it's uniform lighting. So the light gonna hit basically here, and then the rest will be shadow. And this part here, if you use gradient on these, it won't come out. So you have to know what geometry shape you're dealing with. And on top of that, you're gonna have the shoulder guard here, right? That have different type of shape. Maybe it's curved a little bit. So it's basically a sphere on top of a cylinder. And then you have this, which is basically plano, that on top of the sphere and on top of the cylinder. So you're gonna have to render according to whatever you are painting. And this, if you break it down simply, is basically just what do you call that? Some kind of a cylinder that are squeezing and taper down. So you have the surface that curve like a little bit of a spherical, and then you have the top that are the body elongate, so it's more like a cylinder and sphere. So that's why you need to know how to paint those geometry shape really good, because all you are doing here, you are dealing with geometry. You're not dealing with anything else. I mean, you do, but you start off with geometry shape. All right, so now I'm just going to start adding more detail. I'm just gonna start using texture brush now. So just gonna make selection here and Control H. Now I'm just gonna pick and choose whatever value that around there. And I'm painting on normal now, basically. I actually like the darker part to be more orange, so I'm gonna go back. Oh, I can change that later, actually. Now I can go on top again, doing overlay, going back to normal brush. I'm gonna change it to darker orange, and I think that should be better. And then the metal will be sort of a little more green. I think that's a bit too saturated. Gonna go lower on the saturation. There we go. It gives it a nice contrast between cool and warm, because green is a little cooler. Then now you have orange, which is kind of warm. All right. Now, and you're wondering, all these rules, where do I get it from? I didn't make it up. I just have to take classes, and mostly I learned from work with people, my art director and all that stuff. Alright, so now I'm just gonna paint on normal using texture brush again. Maybe pick 70% or 60%. If you have any question, feel free to ask. And I'm gonna go on green now. Yeah, too light. This should be kind of a little flatter. Maybe that's too much. There we go, it's about the right amount. Go back to texture again. A little darker on here. And in a little bit, I'm going to start applying some material on it. For now, I'm just trying to get the shape. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Since now I'm dealing with the face. Whoa. So these planes facing up and these two planes facing side. And then you have, what's going on? How come I didn't get the paint in? Oh, have the selection get in there for no reason. Now I'm gonna have this side plane. Too dark. And a little bit of plane here that's facing up. Then this one coming down a bit. All right. So I'm going to start rendering the helmet and the shoulder, giving it a little more metallic look. I'm using texture brush. It doesn't matter which texture brush really. I can use different ones. But what matters is you know where to place the highlight. And you can switch brush. It's what matters is the value and location. Texture brush will just only help make it slightly faster. You can achieve this with just a normal brush. A lot of time I will see people ask, I can't get your texture brush. You don't need my texture brush to get these. I can teach you how to paint this without using any texture brush at all. What you need to know is just the foundation of how to achieve certain light and shadow in a certain material, and what kind of material you're dealing with. Are they fabric? Are they leather? And I'm just gonna make this plane a little up. See, like this plane going facing this way, this plane is facing up. So two planes will have two different values because of the relation of the plane according to the lighting direction. Like to get the top highlight there. It's a little tricky here. I'm gonna go back to some sort of texture brush. Let's see here. Which one look like fun? Maybe that. Maybe this. Ha. So basically what I'm doing here, I'm just trying to arrange the value on the plane basically. That should be slightly darker. Let's go back to that. Oh, somehow I screwed up. When pretty really low, do you usually use mask on layers when painting for effect? Is it useful? Well, this is basically a mask. If I'm doing this, bam, is it not? Because you can't paint outside of it. You can paint inside of it. What's the difference? I mean, those are just names, right? So function-wise, you have to know what you want to achieve. I don't usually use mask. I just use selection tool. I see no different. Except sometimes masks you can have a softer edges, but that's not necessary. Crystal Wolf asks, I have started to become extremely frustrated with my art, trying to do any or even starting, often resulting in me straightening up, avoid doing my art for many days. Any idea how to combat this? Well, if you realize that you need to improve, why would you stop? And if you want a result within a day or two or in a week, then most likely it is impossible. So you have to start really studying and trying to figure out what you lack and what you need to improve on, and do studying on that on a daily basis, and better be daily basis, because if you need improvement, then you're gonna need to do a lot of them, a lot of practice. What I mean, because if you don't, somebody else will, and people who do more will get better more, and people who do more and think more of what they need to improve on will improve even faster. And a lot of people have mentor also, and those guys will improve even faster, because if you have mentor or something, then most of the time they will point out what you need to improve on and what you need to do to get your art to look better. Then there'll be more improvement, because they can see what what you really lack on, and what you need to improve on. So it's called deliberate practice. So they're especially pointing out your weakness, and then you just improve on that, and whatever you're already good at, you need to enhance that. So you are doing things opposite of what you should be doing. So if you realize that you need to improve, then you're gonna need to work on it a lot. Don't give up, because if you do, well, if you like it enough, then you're gonna be doing it every day anyways, no matter what. And just don't, there's a lot of professional artists posting art, and just don't I mean, you do look at them for inspiration, but don't look at them and just like, well, shit, I could never do this. And the point is, the point that I'm doing this is first, I want to get better. I'm just speaking for myself now. Second, I love doing it no matter what. Even if I suck, I will still doing it. And even if I have no subscriber, I will still be doing it. So I don't give a shit. I just like doing it. No matter who like my work, who doesn't, who cares, right? So ultimately, realizing why you're doing it in the first place is very important. And I noticed that kids these days, like when they post on Instagram or some shit, they're like, oh, somebody don't like, and they repost it again, which is like, well, are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it for other people? If you're doing it for other people approval, then I don't recommend that, because in the end, you won't be improving that much, because once you get enough approval, you will stop improving, because you keep doing the same thing over and over. But if you're doing it for yourself, and you're doing it because you really, really want to be good, just for yourself, eventually you will keep improving, because you don't give a shit about what people think. Why should you? They don't pay your bills? Well, unless it's your boss, then yeah, of course. The boss is always right. And they pay your bills. But if not, nobody cares. Get my point? So you have to realize why you're doing it in the first place. I hope that helps. Don't do it for anybody else. Do it for you. And then eventually you will come around, and people will kind of like, hey, maybe I should hire this guy, because he doesn't care. He will always work no matter what. And you have to take criticism seriously. Thanks, Rich. It's going nowhere, because sometimes I get stuck on the thought. I don't know what to do, because this is just some kind of sketches. And the older I get, the slower I become. I have no idea why. Hello, Erica. What is going on? Okay, gonna start adding a little more value. Let's do some texture brush. And like I said, texture brush will just help you know what to do with them. They basically, the way to think of texture brush, I usually think like a replacement of a hard edge or replacement of the soft edge. So you can achieve pretty much the same result with just soft and hard edge brush. You don't need texture brush. Whoever said you need texture brush is lying. It helps, but you have to know what you're using them for, or what, you know, play with it, then you know how to actually utilize them. If you don't play with it at all, then it's not good. So you have to kind of experiment also. I'm not saying it's not useful. It's pretty useful. It will make your work faster, but in the end, it will always come down to the foundation. That's a little too light. Okay. Spending too much time on the face here. I'm gonna go to the shoulder pretty soon. Be patient with me, guys. I'm not sure if I like that crap. Sometimes I grunt because I don't know what to do. Grunting helps. No, it doesn't. I'm just kidding. Well, you can try. If it helps, then keep grunting. I'm not sure why I did that on this two side, but hi Rich. Rich asks, what is this character? Where is this character from? I just draw it just now. I have no idea what the hell it is. I'm just gonna do a knight, and this is what comes up. And it start off nice. Now it start to look pretty dumb. I'm gonna have to fix some part. All right, let me refocus a little bit. So now I'm applying the material. Usually metal will have more value range. And what I mean more value range is you can use the highlight as light as you want, and the darks go pretty dark. But any other material will have less value range, especially fabric. And the reason, because of the ability of the material, to bounce the light. Basically, metal bounces the light a lot, so it reflecting the light back, and that's why it has certain part with super duper light value, because all you see is light, because it reflects the light back. So it's all the foundation. Let's see here. Maybe that's too high. I'm not sure about that one. Let me add something here. I think that will look good. Bam. Too dark. I'm gonna have to clean that up. Rich asks, most of the time when I draw, I can't have as a picture. I can only do it with a lot of detail before I'm satisfied. Is that a way to stop? Well, first, fuck the detail. You see this? Get the whole thing to look half decent first, right? Before you start adding anything else. Now you can kind of look, okay, it has potential. If it doesn't, then do new ones. So get the pose, well, not pose, get the proportion, get the pose, get the dynamicity down first before you start adding anything in. So basically get the foundation first before you start adding more stuff in. Because the better your foundation, the better the picture. Because as you paint, it's gonna get worse and worse, so you gotta start out with the better ones. Then if it gets worse, it will still look okay. Like right now, I have no idea what am I gonna add, but we'll see. And also get the perspective right. It's very important. Even if it's a character, there's always perspective involved. Like the geometry, you know, how is it coming forward, backward, whatever. I do not like the side of it, but and this kind of doesn't fuck. Don't like the visor. Just gonna fix this whole thing here. See, sometimes I'll just get rid of stuff. And don't be afraid to kill your babies. Paint over is good. If you don't think it looks good, kill it. Like what I just did. Doesn't guarantee that it will look better, but it's guaranteed that it won't look worse. Alright, now I think we can section these a bit. That. You should turn smoothing on a little bit. This one is pretty useful. Get your line. It makes your line a little smoother. But if you want sketchy line, turn it off. Like if I want some sketchy line, I want to paint, then I'm just gonna turn it off. But if I want my line to be smoother, then I'll turn it on. And this is just a random image. Not sure how it's gonna turn out yet. How long is this already? It's been 48 minutes? Fuck. Oops, sorry. And sometimes I cuss a lot, so I apologize. But I'm an adult, so I could do it. If you're not over 18, don't cuss. Just kidding, you do whatever you want. It's your life. Okay, I'm gonna add more here, and the light highlight will follow, and then I'm just gonna add more texture brush. I can do it with default, but it's a lot more fun and more sketchy with texture brush. And one thing I noticed, if you want to use texture brush and want to kind of like know what make it, you know, how to make them look good and stuff, try traditional stuff also on the side. I often do that because traditional brush is basically, a lot of texture brush mimic dry brush of the traditional medium. So once you know what dry brush look like, more often, you're gonna understand how to use texture brush a bit more. But be friendly with it, you know. You don't have to use texture brush all the time. So you can just always go back to normal there and know where to put the light and shadow and things. I know a lot of you guys are like, really easy to say, but if you draw every day or paint every day, then you understand what I mean. And don't give up, keep doing what you're doing. Eventually your dream will come true. Just a matter of time. Alright, I'm gonna add a bit more texture. Any question? Nope, I hardly ever finish any doodle piece on stream, with the exception of portrait because they're easy. And usually I don't have that kind of. Sometimes, if I have 2 hours, sometimes I do finish like a quick speed painting. But with the full renders, sometimes you need second pass, and second pass need a lot of thinking. And now I'm just add a little bit of rim light. I have no idea what this thing is. Basically, what I'm doing now, I'm just playing with light and shadow. I thought it was gonna look better in this, but apparently not. Sorry, guys. All right. It's a little bit too much occlusion. Tone that down a bit. Go back to default. And just gonna arrange the finger. Plates on top. Come on. Right, it's pretty sketchy. Any more question? Mon ami? Okay, I'm not sure what to do with the chest. I'm just gonna add a little bit of stuff here and there. Boop, boop. Let's add some sort of outline. So this is kind of like a drawing and painting, sort of. Hello, Patrick. Oh, thanks. You guys are very kind. And now I'm gonna add a little bit more texture. So basically I'm just trying to figure out form slowly. Okay, that one's fine, I guess. There's a shadow there. Now we're talking. Light, light. And if you want to do some stuff like this, you don't have to go super fast. You can just kind of slowly figure out the form, right? And just keep sketching. Take your time. Make sure that your light and shadow are correct. And most importantly, like what I mentioned earlier, geometry shape, right? Everything has to follow the direction of the light. Whoa, too dark. And as it goes inward, it will receive less light, and that in turn becomes slightly darker. And try to, identify a plane. That's very important. Which plane is facing the light and which plane is facing away from the light. This one is a little off. Actually, there's a lot of part that's off, but I kind of let it get away with it, because sometimes it's hard to figure out exactly which part the light will hit and what percentage of the value you could use. So value control is very important. Hello, Erica. What did you mean by second pass when you answered the last question? I mean, vaguely self-explanatory, but I thought it couldn't hurt to ask. Second pass mean, like if I'm finishing this one, even though it looks okay, you still need to check the value, the lighting, and the proportion, because if you only do sometimes you don't see everything, so you need to leave your artwork for like a day or two and do the second pass, and that means taking a second look. And usually in the studio, second pass usually mean you send it to, it depends on the company. Sometimes you have a group of concept artists in the same room, they'll take a look at it and they're like, oh, okay, then ship it off to the art director. But if you're doing your own studio, right, then usually no one will come in and tell you, hey, you need to fix this and fix that, and that's the job of your art director, is to like, okay, this one ship it, or this one throw it into the trash. That's what your art director do, and more often than not, 70% of the work will end up in the trash or redo. That's like mostly R&D stage. But if you pass R&D stage, usually you know exactly what the look of the game will be and stuff like that. But if you don't know the look of the game yet, then you're gonna have to experiment. But second pass usually means for yourself before you ship it off. But in the stories means that your art director will take a look at it, and he'll say ship it or trash can. And usually give it a couple of days, because sometimes like you really need a fresh eye to take a look at your character and see what you're missing. Alright, now I'm gonna slowly adding more value to the rest. Like this area needs fixing big time, because I tend to make it sort of a bit more sketchy, but it's enough to be doing too much. Hi Sinat. Sinat asks, thanks Rich. Sinat asks, so what exactly is the art director job? To fire you. No, to make you the better artist. It's like the approval process. You need to go to the art director, and usually you have. It depends on how big your companies are. If your company is really big, you can have art leads on each department. Like usually, I get to do a lot of characters, so I barely involve in the environment. And the environment, they'll have the environmental leads in character. They'll have character art leads, which that will be the approval process. We have to go to the leads or the senior art person. Like what I'm doing is I'm a senior guy, and then sometimes I'll take a look at the junior artists. Like, yeah, maybe you need to improve on this, improve on that, and then you get to the next approval process, which is the leads. But most of the time, if you have the other concept artists look at your stuff, or the senior artists look at your stuff, and if they say okay, usually the approval process will be better. So that's kind of like the second pass, right? But if your company is small, then you probably have only one guy or two guys that are involved in the approval process. But if you have big companies, then you have more people, more eyes, and that's why a lot of big games look good, because there are more input for character, environment, or whatever, because every single one of those people are really good. So in turn, when you got feedback from people who are really good, your products turn out to be really good. So it's really good to work with people who are really awesome, and especially if they can do stuff better than you. So I prefer that, because you can learn from them. If I'm going to some studio and I become the best, then that's just like, well, shit, what am I doing here? I like to take advantage of the situation, because you can learn more from people who knows more, right? And that's how you progress. I forgot the sword. That sucks. Alright, well, we're gonna need to get this down. Hello, Patrick Lamont. Patrick Lamont asks, my metal looks like plastic. Well, if you know it looks like plastic, then you probably will have to do more studies, and that's what material study are for. Do more material study, and then especially do one with plastic and one with metal, so you know exactly what the difference between the two. And all material are relative, and what I mean is depends on the light, how much light it got in the certain setting, your metal might not be as shiny, or your metal might not be as dim. Sometimes your metal can look dim in a specific set of lighting. Sometimes your metal could look super shiny. Depends on the light. So the more you do, the more you know what I'm talking about. Everything is relative, and relative in terms of material that you are setting on the character also. So if you have a character that have fabric, leather, and everything else, so you can have to control each value on the character as they're supposed to be. I hope you know what I'm talking about. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Okay, now the legs. Getting lazy now. Spending too much time on the rest. So I'm just gonna bob with this. Blah. Done. Actually, I don't have to do much since it's a sketch. Then I'm just gonna put, and then make sure that the lighting are on the same direction, and I should be fine. Since this is not really a concept work, I could get away with it. But if it is, then I'm gonna have to do a second pass. And as a sketch, I guess it's fine. As a concept, no. Not yet. Anyways, it's a good start. If I may say. So this will all be leather and maybe cloth, a little red. Wow, since I add red here, then I probably have to add red somewhere else. That's a dark red. Okay. Adding some folding. So you notice that my fabric has only two values, basically. Not a lot. Two main values. But in comparison to the metal. So that's what I'm saying by relative. You compare the metal and the fabric here. You can add a little more if you want it more highlight on the edge of these. Just a little bit, it's fine. But if you add too much, then it won't look like fabric anymore. So I add that, then I'm gonna make the flag a little more red, maybe lighter as well. And I'll just keep it at 2 value. Then I think the pole needs to be slightly darker. Maybe a bit of highlight. You know what? I'm gonna make a pole on a different layer. so it makes it easier for me to get something nice going. I'm getting a little lazy now. It's been an hour. I'm tired. Alright, now I'm gonna make a selection on a hold. Pick a medium value basically. Hide the selection. Go a little lower. Thanks, Rich. Very kind of you. And just silly lighting. It's not totally correct, but it will do for now. Since I'm gonna have to go pretty soon. I'm hungry. Alright, in this section, I'm just trying to clean up all these value, then try to keep it consistent and get rid of that three pointy, not pointy, but the plates that are going up, because I think it's a bit distracting. It looks cool in the silhouette, but sometimes I have to kind of like think about, okay, if the head's gonna look better with or without. So I want the head to be a little more prominent than the shoulder itself. So and since the shoulder is already coming forward, it doesn't help with the head shape that I lay down in the back. So I get rid of that. So, and then I'm just gonna keep cleaning up the shoulder and the legs and simplify the shoulder a little bit more so the hands look like it's coming forward.
And now I'm cleaning up the other side of the shoulder and the arm. I'm gonna try to make it get a little more light. So just gonna erase all those and make the different type of shoulder pad or the shoulder piece of armor entirely. So I'm just gonna, because that's a little bit too high and it takes away the silhouette of the head shape. So I'm just gonna get rid of that and then cleaning up all the plates on, adding some highlights and trying to make a calculated guess of where the light would fall on those arms basically, and also trying to polish the material a little bit more. I decided that I'm gonna go a little more epic with the flag on the back, just kind of like make it longer and wavier and flow like a hair, so it looked like he's moving somewhere, like he's moving. If the tail of the flags flowing to the right side of the screen, that means he's moving slightly to the left side of the screen and coming forward. So it's like a secondary movement in animation. Basically, when you're doing an illustration, the secondary movement that you get from the hair or you get from the flag depends on which is longer, can show the movement of the character. As you notice later on that the hair is going on a different direction, that means he's already moving to the left and then moving to the right, or the depends. If the cloth is longer and the shorter cloth moving in different direction, that means the character is moving in kind of like in the curve, right? So you're going back, you're going left first, and then you're going right. So it's kind of create that anticipation. I mean, the flow. And now I'm just starting to cleaning up the legs and make the lightings a little more interesting, or a little more, trying to correct the lighting basically on this form. So cleaning up this form a little bit more and make it fit with the rest. Or sometimes I would just leave it sketchy, and that should be fine too. It depends on how far do you want to go with it, right? If you want to stop here and this is read already, then you okay with it, then that's fine. And then you're gonna have to kind of break it down later as you go on to the model sheet. But I'm still kind of want to go a little further and see and explore more of what I could do to this character. So you can go as far as you want. In terms of concept, you're gonna have to spend more time, and time is very important in concepting art, concepting world. Like when you're doing character, it depends on how many character design you have to finish within a week or within the milestone, things like that. So you have to kind of take that into the consideration, because sometimes if your time is short, you can have to limit your time into the certain way of certain part of rendering that you playing around with. That's but if you have a lot of time, you might want to spend a little more time to polish it a little further. So time is also an essence when you are doing the concept art. at this part, I'm skipping some of the video that I just kind of render, so you see some of the additional part of the painting being appears out of nowhere, because I think otherwise the video will be like 3 hours, because this one I spent about 3 or something hours on it. So and now I decided to add a little flap in the front, the protective leather, and then I'm going to add the leather alongside his helmet from the bottom. And in the beginning, I might give it a straight down, but then later on, I kind of make some movement. So when you have those object moves around your body, that means your body is moving or doing something, right? So you're going to have to think about how does it move and things like that. this part, I think when I add the sword, it's kind of blocking that part of the leather ear that's coming off from the helmet. So I'm just gonna move the leather ear up since I can't move the sword. The sword would just kind of stay there. It's the double cross sword, right? So I'm just gonna move certain part of the object, and it would be cool too because those metal ring, I'm gonna add the metal ring on the bottom of those leather straps or the leather hanging from the helmet. So I could kind of play around with the ring coming forward a little bit from the body, and that should be fun to paint. And now I'm going to add some lighting onto the sword a little bit more, polish the sword and make it kind of angle downward slightly, especially the one in the front because you can only see the bottom and that's only the shadow. So if I make the sword slightly thicker and have the blade sort of the plane kind of coming, sloping down a bit, then that could also work. So you can see the light from the top and a little bit of the shadow in the bottom. So light and shadow, you can also play with it to kind of change the angle of the object and use the change of plane to your advantage. here I am just cleaning up the handle of the sword, and also I'm gonna clean up the metal gloves and the leather part so that it looks a little cleaner than what it is now. I mean, you can tell that he's grabbing a sword, but it would be nicer if I clean it up and make it look a little more presentable. And now this is where I changed the whole helmet into a rat face. So by just changing that, and this guy became Knight of Rat. um, Even though he was, um, I don't think I have a name for him before that. So he just kind of like the Knight of Crossword or something. By changing the shape and add some ear, I think I should be able to get away with uh, having him being the Knight of the Rat or Lord of the Rat or something, right? With the armor. So, all right, guys. Well, I think I'm just gonna leave you guys here with a little bit with the rest of the process. And if you are interested, like I said, you need to know all the foundations. So go to my Gumroad, or you can just watch our video on my YouTube, and that should help too. But on the ultimate digital painting for beginners, those are going to be a lot of video that will help you guys walk through all this process from the beginning, how to calculate the value and how to look for colors and how to get the pose down and how to look at certain object and try to decide whether this should be metal or this should be leather or this should be cloth or things like that. All right, guys. Well, have a happy new year. 2020 will be a good year for all of us. All right, guys. Bye-bye.